Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. As we celebrate Youth Month, we will be running a series on the role of Chapter 9 institutions in strengthening our democracy. Today, we discuss the importance of voting as we look ahead to the 2026 local government elections. We also focus on youth participation, voter education, and why it's important for young people to exercise their right to vote. And joining us to expand the conversation is Moagisi Sibanda, who's General Manager of Civic and Democracy Education Research and Knowledge Management at the IEC. Moagisi, very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, today we saw thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of young people expressing their frustrations, especially as we look to the impact of unemployment. South Africa's youth unemployment rate is at crisis levels. So as young people question why should they vote and does their voice matter, what sort of education is needed in that aspect?
Thank you very much, and good evening to the viewers. You know, the conversations we have with young people are very important because they are, as you know, quite a large number in terms of our population currently. And it's important to ensure that these young people who are the custodians of democracy and all the elections that we are undertaking in this current era need to participate, because democracy relies on their participation in order for it to thrive. And once you disengage, that in fact harms our democracy and our ability to choose who represents us and what issues they champion once they get to those decision-making tables. So it's important for young people to continue to participate, and it's great that they find various ways to express themselves that are allowed within our democratic space and the Constitution. But it's important that they also take up that right to vote, which is a very, very important vote that the young people of 76 fought for, and some even lost their lives for. So we encourage all young people to always participate, to register to vote, and show up on election day at every general election.
Voter turnout over the years in local government elections has been decreasing, indicating a rise in voter apathy. I mean, young people are saying that they are not heard. In fact, today, ahead of Deputy President Paul Mashatila's keynote address in the Northwest, a young person from the NYDA said very boldly that young people are not looking for shortcuts, for favors. They just want to be heard and they want opportunities.
And that's very true. I think we need to also stop treating young people as, you know, a population to be managed, but their population to be engaged, their population to be supported and given the platforms where they're able to raise their issues and be listened to. I think any person in society really values the opportunity to be heard. And elections is really one of those opportunities to be heard and to ensure that your voice counts. It's a great privilege to be able to exercise this right every few years, to review the choices we make and to say these are our new issues and these are the people who align with these issues. And we want young people to be able to see elections as that tool that empowers them to really charter the path that they wish to see the country take for themselves, for their futures, for their communities, and for their hopes and dreams.
A trust deficit has been earmarked as one of the reasons why there's youth voter apathy. What do you think are some of the misconceptions that need to be quelled as we look to the importance of voter participation and the power of the youth vote?
One of the key mandates of the Electoral Commission is to conduct research. And so we continuously ensure that we're tapping into what are the perceptions of voters out there, and especially young people. And in fact, ahead of the 2024 elections, we did a research survey of young people who had decided that they would not vote at all. So this affected young people, and we wanted to know why is it that they don't vote. And indeed, that trust in governance, the trust in politics is what was really letting them down. And they felt really, really let down. And that is what has been leading to the disengagement, because for them, they do not see how elections translate into, the fulfilling of their bread and butter issues. And when we live in an economy where people are really, really struggling, and they do not see politics and governance perhaps serving the wish it did, it really begins to lessen the trust that people have in the whole democratic process. But it's important, as I always say, to engage and not disengage, because once you disengage, then there are no people who will be there to champion those burning issues. And then your voice is then not heard. And we need community, we need people en masse coming out to vote to ensure that they strengthen those priorities that they wish for their representatives to champion.
Yeah, because for one, we saw young voters shaping the 2024 elections. I mean, they drove change on climate and inequality. In terms of enhancing youth engagement, what kind of approaches need to be taken there so that young people do understand the importance of voting and the sort of impact that their vote has on shaping the country?
Yeah. Well, our approach at the IEC, they are, and therefore our civic and democracy education programs really are multimedia, are multifaceted, and go to where our audiences are, especially young people. So we utilize social media, we utilize videos, utilize audio and community radio discussion programs, as well as SABC radio, because those are very important to facilitate language. And we know when you speak to people in a language that they understand, on programs that they naturally go to consume news and information that is credible, then you're able to also really have a resonance with that audience. We also do a lot of face-to-face interactions and go out in communities to have discussions with young people. And when we do, we're met with all sorts of issues that as the IEC were not able to really solve, but people do feel heard, and you're able to then show them how those burning issues, whether it's crime, whether it's gender-based violence, whether it's youth unemployment, how those need to be processed. This whole, democracy project and through elections. And also we encourage young people to be candidates, because they are able to be candidates. They're not just voters. They're not just a passive people who are transacting in elections, but they can be candidates, and they can take up leadership positions where they will see themselves in those policy-making tables.
Very well. Thank you so much. Let's perhaps leave it there for now. Moagisi Sibanda, who's General Manager of Civic and Democracy Education, Research and Knowledge Management at the IEC.